You're listening to Adam Yurchick recording for TCGplayer.com. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me for round one of my Shards of Alara block flashback draft. This is a full block with all three sets. And I drafted this little 5-color deck, and I lost a die roll, but I opened up on a really nice looking hand with mana and fixing and threats. And so I'm definitely going to keep it. And he went down to 6, so let's see what happens here. This is about as good a hand as I can ask for. And I even have a black permanent in Mad Rush Cyclops for Dark Temper, or black creature, actually. No, black permanent. So that's nice. I can even give haste to the Gargantuan. And I even draw land. Swamp at that. So with Trace making blue, I have all my colors of mana. I can activate Flesh Former. This is fantastic. So Rock's Brood off the top is a nice one. So I'll put the Trace on the Forest. It's not super relevant, but because I have the most forests and I'm most likely to get another one, and also I don't really need double green, I'll just put it on there. Shouldn't actually really matter though. So I could go Cyclops into Brute, or Brute into Cyclops, or what have you. He plays a Grizzled Leotard, so it almost doesn't matter. I think the best bet is just to get the Cyclops into play. Just so all my future creatures have haste and he's on the back foot. That way if I draw a big threat later on, it's just good to go. And that Rock's Brute will probably sit back because the Rayclaw Gargantuan is going to come down next turn. The other upside to putting the Cyclops into play is it turns on the Dark Temper, as I mentioned earlier. And he's probably not going to kill it. And this way I have a creature in play to turn on the Temper in case he plays something immediately threatening. So Sigil Captain's pretty nasty. If he puts out 1/1s, it could wreck me, but on the other hand, it might do nothing. So it puts me in a tough spot. I could Dark Temper it. I think the play here, though, is to play the Obelisk and to play the Coatl. And take my chances with him making 1/1s. I want to get the Coatl into play immediately so it gets as big as possible. So now, given enough time, that Coatl will just become the biggest thing in play and eventually just overwhelm him. It'll also be a really good blocker that he won't be able to get through. Battle Mage. And really with the board as it is, he can make 3/3 creatures as much as he wants, and they're not going to matter. So I think there's no reason to temper it, and I should just keep the removal spell back. I think I just play the Gargantuan and start hitting him. Could have done that last turn. And just the Gargantuan will hit him. And he'll take it and pass it back. So Steward of Valoran, not too important here. He could hit me for 3 in the air. He does do that, but not with the Battle Mage. So he's playing an enchantment I don't love. His deck might not be that great. And I'll go ahead and sack my Panorama and pick up an island. So the first striker gets in front of my Gargantuan. So I might just want to take that out with the Dark Temper now. So I can keep the pressure on him. So I'm going to do that. And then I'll play the Rocks Brute. I could have actually played the Brute and hit with everything, but I like playing more conservatively. That way he can't kill the Gargantuan. Next turn, my Coatl becomes a 5/5, so I can give it first strike with the Gargantuan, and then he's just in rough shape. So he does go with that. I'll go with first strike. I actually ordered him to kill the Leotau first. Probably would have done it the other way if I didn't just click through, but it does make sense to do it this way because now the Cyclops is more aggressive. And I'll just put it into play, empty my hand, pass it back. But this actually works out though, because killing the 1/5 opens the way for the Rocks Brute. So I'm happy I did this. And the Battle Mage just really doesn't do anything on defense. It's really an aggressively oriented Battle Mage, so actually just putting the Battle Mage on defense is exactly what I want to do. This is going to work out really nicely. And now the team's going to connect. And the Viashino is going to get in. And turn them all sideways. He could definitely double block the Cyclops and eat it, trade 1 for 1, and maybe stay alive with something, but that's obviously fine. The Cyclops has done its damage. If it trades 1 for 1, the worst things could happen. And I'm actually going to give first strike to my creatures just to prevent him from shrinking mine after combat or dealing damage. It's not going to come up in this spot, but I don't see a reason not to do it. Other than, I guess, bounce. But with me having the Cyclops, bounce isn't going to punish me. Okay, so we see what he did. And I shouldn't be dead to his creature. Fantastic. Lich's Mirror. If you would lose the game, instead he shuffles everything back, draws 7 cards, and gets 20 life. So it all sounds good until you realize he doesn't have any lands. So I'll just kill him on the next turn. Or 2 turns. Let's play this because it's fun. cool. Draw a card, so super value. And super value, extra counter. And then crack for 1,000,000 damage. So he uses his Lich's Mirror. I'll use my Panorama. Find the planes. And then pass it back, and he won't be able to do anything, and I'll win the game. All right, so go to the board. I think the second Ray Claw is going to be useful. And Deadshot Minotaur, maybe not so much. I could also cut Giant Ambush Beetle, but that should be alright. He actually had some creatures I could kill with it. So I'll just go with this. Maybe Knight of the Skyward Eye is worth having, but I'm gonna do this. Looks like a fine hand. I have Naya mana, 3-drop and 5-drops. Should be alright. Dark Temper is a pretty good draw. It's good with the Beetle because it turns on the Dark Temper, and also can help get the Beetle through into a 2/2. Let's get the mountain down, Sages of the Anima, and I can refill with that. I suppose the Beetle's pretty good with Sicellum Archers too. Whether it be finishing something off or killing whatever it blocks or stopping a double block. Lots of good stuff. So the Archers is nice. It stops the Ember Weaver for now, as long as he doesn't get a red permanent down. I actually have a feeling he won't, so consider it trumped. And then actually with the ability on it, it's really gonna punish it, stop it from attacking. So I like the way the game's going. Sunseed Nurture, not relevant yet. So I'll just play land and pass and maybe use the dark... Oh, okay, so maybe use a Dark Temper. Probably not. If I'm not going to use it on the Nurture, then it's not likely I'm going to use it next turn. But I drew a Coatl, so I'll play that. And now I'm looking to be in really great shape. So I think Sages of the Anima actually stops Lore Scale Coatl from triggering. That's something to keep in mind. I definitely don't want to play it next turn. I should play the Sages later. And I should also trade off the Coatl if I can. Like here I have an option to double block. Probably just want to do it. He'll probably kill the Coatl. And if he doesn't, it's a fine trade. Because it keeps my life total up, and that's what I'm going for. But he doesn't. He just trades for the Coatl, so that's what I wanted. And this works out great. Now I'm going to slam the Beetle, eat his Bodyguard, and then if he wants to trade with the Beetle, he has to put the Nurture in front of it. So it's just a clean 2-for-1. And I can maybe try to wait and keep the Beetle around, but I think just getting the removal off is really nice. it basically just forces his hand. Once I target the bodyguard, he has to put the nurture in front of it. It just doesn't make sense not to. So I'm getting a nice 2-for-1, leaving him with no creatures to attack me. I'm also getting in for 2 damage. This puts me in a good spot. With the Sages of the Anima, I really just need to grind him down. He finds the double block. Maybe it was silly to trade off the Coatl, because if I wasn't planning on playing Sages for a couple turns, I would have got a few draws and Coatl would have got large. Maybe keeping my life total up was not as important. He casts Reborn Hope on Rock's Bodyguard. I pick up a Flesh Former. So I still actually need some mana. So that's another reason to hold off on the Sages. He's on the back foot now. Rock's Brute really punishes him further. Also, I could use the Archer to deal 2 to something and then the Temper to finish it off. Alright. I'm going to keep the Archer back. He's going to make a 5/6, so now it's time for me to make my move. Throw the Fiery Temper or the Dark Temper at it. I'm actually going to do that first. Play around something like Spell Snip, and then the Archer to finish it off. Had he not done that, I would have cycled Sylvan Bounty for a Swamp, played it, and the Flesh Former. And then Tukatung Thal is not going to get it done in this spot. And I'll happily just send the Archer here. Keep my damage up. And with the bounty able to find the Swamp, I guess there's no reason not to just play the Anima now. Get the value going. If I was afraid of a sweeper, I would just keep it, but I'm not. So I'll just put it into play. take the Rate Claw. Very cool. And he concedes. So thank you for watching, and please join me for round 2.